guys, I'm here today talk about something called web presence optimization. So let me just come to the need of the masterclass itself, and I think what are the reason that we structured this format that you see today. So what we've done is that we found that there were two extremes of digital knowledge being shared, right? One was a workshop, one person would talk for 8 hours, the other was panel discussions. There was a middle ground required, which was basically taking the best speakers in one particular topic, go deep into it, 40, 50 minutes, 25 minutes, but cover that topic specifically, and that should be the best individual for that topic. Because when the person speaks for 8 hours, it's very difficult for them to have knowledge to go on deep into all the subjects, or only one subject per se. So there's a reason that we structured this format, and we have people who are going to talk about PPC automation. They are probably the best in PPC automation. Somebody who talks about analytics and content creation, they're good in that. Miten is here to talk about, there was a mistake, Miten from Koa is here instead of Mojiva. It's a different company. So he's going to talk about geo-targeting and how geo-targeting is important now in digital advertising, but he's one of the best guys in the world to talk about geo-targeting. And what we've done after that is that we're going to have like 10 minutes of interactivity, but what I would like to do is the interactivity should be slightly more coordinated. So let me just give you some ground rules which will make it more exciting for all of us, right? So I think some of the obvious questions that we see sometimes in conferences, which half of us in this room know the answer to, right? So my request is to come out with questions which you feel is relevant to the audience, but it's very, very difficult question which you've not been able to find an answer for. Because I think you have the opportunity to ask the best speakers in the world on that topic. Let's not waste it. Second thing is, what I would request is any comments that you have about the session. There are breaks in the middle. That's the best time to ask those comments. So the question should be definitely smaller than the answer that the speaker is going to give you. Lastly, I think it should be relevant to the entire audience. If there are any individual problems that you have, every session after that there is a small break. Catch hold of that person, ask them individual questions, and it will be the best way to sort it out. So let's begin. So I think this now lead generation has now gone to Facebook likes. But digital has always been about performance, like, performance marketing, right? Actually, a slogan says that. So the fact of the matter is that I think digital has moved beyond it. And what we try to do is, let me tell you how we think digital. And then what we've done is we've taken sessions for each of these topics, which will go in depth of each of these things. So when you think about digital, first thing that comes up obviously is customer acquisition. So there are certain platforms that have an inherent strength for customer acquisition, which would be search as a platform, SEO, PPC, some parts of display advertising, but the inherent customer acquisition, search has a big advantage over other platforms. So many times I have partners coming to me and telling me that, I want to acquire customers, but I want to use Facebook. And I also want to use only Twitter. So the fact of the matter is, you can acquire customers from Facebook and Twitter, but that's not the predominant, let's say, dominant factor because of which they've got popular, and that's not the key strength of the platform. So what we're going to do is, we're going to cover some parts of search marketing out here, but very PPC automation, and how do you use SEO for content assets. So it's deep into the topic. If you have digital assets, video, images, applications, how do you optimize them for a web presence? If you take branding, I'm going to cover part of it now, where the approach to branding has to be different. Because it's very important the way you approach branding on a conventional platform is very different than you approach it on digital, and this is what I'm going to cover in this session partly. You take next, information dissemination. There are a lot of ways in which information is being disseminated right now. These are platforms that have inherent strength for information dissemination. So it's very important that when we look at digital, we look at what is it what we want to achieve from an objective point of view, and which platform has the best inherent strength to achieve that objective. And look at digital not in a silo, but look at, okay, I want to do information dissemination, and this is the platform which has an inherent strength. Let's use it to our advantage. Rather than saying that I want to do information dissemination, but I want to use this platform per se. We're going to talk about community building, engagement. So again, Facebook, social media platforms have inherent strength of community building, monetization in terms of upsell, cross-sells, etc., advocacy. We're going to talk about ORM, but ORM has gone beyond just online reputation management. We're going to talk almost for like 40, 50 minutes of how you can do social media listening. And social media listening is all about understanding what consumers desire, understanding trends, making sure that we use those insights to get some actionable thing, either for product development or changing a marketing strategy. So we're going to go beyond ORM in a session which Venkat Ramana is going to take from value pitch. So again, each of these things, what you're going to cover today is going deep into it and how can we use that platform more effectively. So it's more of an advanced kind of a thing on digital marketing. We're not going to cover any basics. We talk about search marketing, also it's going to be quite advanced level search marketing about PPC automation or things like that. So let's talk, I'm just going to have one slide on search where I feel that where PPC is headed. We're going to go deeper into these topics later, but one slide, I think automation is going to be very, very critical in PPC because now you have millions of keywords, you need dynamic ad copies, you want ads to stop automatically when the inventory gets over, you want ads to be formed dynamically based on the, the product changes, you want to have offers across 10,000 different keywords, pause the offer on a certain date. All this automation is going to play a very, very key role. And in the last 10 years, automation started with tools like, even in the early days, I remember MakeMeTop and BidBuddy and tools which we used in the early days, 7, 8 years back, and then came Efficient Frontier, now it's Acquisio, Kensho, Marin, whole evolution of how PPC automation has developed. So we have a 25-minute presentation on evolution of PPC, evolution of automation, and what we can look forward to in the future. Second thing is going to be there is something which is search retargeting, which is very exciting. There are companies in the world who are doing search retargeting. Search retargeting is very different from search remarketing, so we're going to cover this a little bit in detail. Where it says that, okay, a person searches for a keyword, he does not click on the ad. But based on his previous searches, you can target him. So this is great for competition targeting. So if you're a leader in a certain industry or a second company in that industry, you can target the first company even without them knowing that you're targeting their customers. So search retargeting is based on the previous searches of the person rather than him clicking on it and getting a cookie out there. I think SEO and PPC can play a great role being together in terms of seeing which ad copies work on PPC, inserting them as ad snippets, copy snippets in SEO, making sure that the keywords that are giving you good conversions, but your rank number is X, how can you use those keywords in PPC? How can you actually appeal to two different target audiences between SEO and PPC? So many times what happens is you're ranked number 1 on PPC, you're ranked number 1 on SEO. What if one proposition was a value-based proposition, the other one was a price-based proposition? That means what happens is you are targeting two different psychographic users, one who believes in value, one who believes in price, and you rank number 1, so automatically you can target a larger section of users by combining your efforts in PPC and SEO together. If you look at analytics, I think so many times I've seen is that even in SEO, a lot of people stop at a rank. I've achieved a certain rank, I'm ranked number 1. And that's where the SEO company says that, yes, I've achieved my goal, I've reached rank number 1, and that's where it ends. In fact, if you ask me, that's where it should start. After you got a rank to a certain level, after that you have to see what that rank is delivering you in terms of revenues, in engagement, in everything. And I can give you hundreds of examples where one of the companies I won't name, they were ranked number 1 for a keyword called gaming phone. However, when we looked at the analytics, the bounce rates were as close as 95%. They were not getting any transactions, and we were wondering why. We found that Google indexed the last year's phone, and the current phone was actually not ranked number 1. So last year's phone was ranked number 1. You can actually have a rank number 1 and have a disastrous performance. Similarly, we had another client of ours, HDFC.com, where EMI calculator was ranking number 6, but people would click out there, and Google had indexed sort of a pop-up window. And what would happen is people would go there, and then they couldn't go anywhere after that pop-up window. So they would come back to Google. So automatically, Google feels that if the user comes back to Google pretty quickly, that means the user did not find the content they were looking for. Just by applying a small icon out there, apply for home loan. First of all, what it did was the home loan applications went through the roof. Secondly, the rank improved from 6 to number 2, which was not an SEO effort. It was adding something on the pop-up window, and the rank jumped, and the visitors actually tripled just by that one single change of adding apply for home loan, which anyway was beneficial to us. Lastly, I think people are spending less and less time on the web. So about a year back, Wired magazine came with this big bold statement. They said web is dead. First time I read it, and as I said, it makes sense because I'm now spending more time on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, on applications, on mobile phones, etc. The amount of time that I would spend on websites is reducing. So now what happens is we as brands have digital assets which are videos, which are images, which are Wikipedia things, news articles, applications. How do you optimize wherever the consumer is engaging with us? The user comes on YouTube and engages with our brand. How does it matter? At the end of the day, we have to be where the users are. And the users are moving away from websites. All our digital strategies are revolving around websites. We have to move away from them and see internet as an opportunity and web as an opportunity and optimize for the web. Lastly, I think content creation is becoming extremely critical now in digital advertising. A lot of times I talk to publishers or talk to brands and they say, listen, Vivek, we are not publishers. But I said that, if you want to survive in the digital world, you will have to become quasi-publishers. And my reasoning for that is very simple. What happens is that each brand has a niche industry they work in. Mass media, like television, like print, requires a certain number of users to make that content profitable. So let's say if I create content on, let's say, paragliding in India, I may be a paragliding pilot, but there may be only 10,000, 20,000 paragliding pilots in the whole of the country. So no particular publisher can ever create content on paragliding to reach out to me. But I may be a good consumer for a lot of brands. So a brand who creates that content and engages those 20,000 people, that brand would gain the loyalty of that 20,000 people. So brands have to go into content creation. They can delay it, but sooner or later they'll have to do it. And I'm going to give the benefits that one can get by content creation, because content creation helps you both in search in SEO as well as PPC, as well as social media. In fact, your prices in PPC come down significantly if you have content. So we actually have one whole session of 50 minutes on how do you plan content creation and how you should go about doing it, and examples of the same. Coming back to the brand building. So this is one question which has been asked to me for the last 15 years of my experience in the industry. Can digital be used to build brands? So now we do have a lot of examples that have been built purely on digital. But I think the biggest problem is that even some of the large conventional brands, they still don't have this belief whether digital can actually help them build a brand. So let me give you an example of why it is not there, why digital is still only 5% of the total advertising budgets. So I think the factor has been that most people don't have this belief. And secondly, people who have the belief, what they've done is they've tried to replicate what they were doing on conventional media on digital. And I believe that there is a flaw in that approach, and I'm going to elaborate why I believe that's a flaw and what are the things we need to do as enterprises and brands to correct that flaw. Right? So let's take an example. What are the basic way how conventional media works? Right? Basically, the way the conventional media works is that you have a rack rate, and the big guy gets a big discount on the rack rate. So I, as a small company, can never compete with the Hindustan Levers of the world on buying media as effectively as they do. So there is an inherent disadvantage I start off with. Right? The measurement is limited to dipstick studies and some other methods which can be questionable at times, right? So I think all of us digital guys have smile on our faces when they talk about measurement of conventional media, right? So the measurement is patchy at times, and I think there is a lot. So let's say measurement of television hasn't changed for 35 years, but digital measurement evolves every single month. So in 35 years, if there has been no need to change the way in which television needs to be measured, we know that there could be flaws in the process, right? Lastly is that conventional media has never been able to identify intent. In digital, intent can be identified. So now what happened was digital could target intent. It could sell media on an auction basis, which I think eventually is going to happen on conventional media too. Lastly, you could measure a lot of things. So I'm going to cover how one should go about measuring digital, especially when you're talking about branding, and how should we actually approach branding on digital, right? We are not talking about the efficacy of one medium against the other. So don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that digital is more effective than conventional media. All I'm saying is that if you want to do digital in branding, don't replicate what you are doing on conventional media. And this is an approach. There are certain pointers that I want to come up with. Hopefully, some of those pointers will be relevant to your brands, right? So digital now has reach. It has reached 100 million odd users or more now. It has the ability to deliver frequency. This was a big challenge of digital earlier. Digital could not deliver frequency, right? Nobody searches the same keyword again and again, right? Because Google is so good, it finds you what you're looking for first time. So what happens is, how do you actually deliver frequency? But I think advent of social media has changed that. Facebook allows you to give frequency. Tools like search retargeting, remarketing allows you to deliver frequency to consumers. So digital now has acquired the ability to deliver frequency, which is a big, big win as far as digital is concerned. Lastly, digital could not deliver a duration or ad exposure. There was no equivalent of a full page ad or a TV commercial on digital, right? You had these text ads, and it was very difficult to convince the CMOs that a text ad is going to build a brand for you, right? So the thing is that now with YouTube coming in, you have homepage takeovers. So we're going to have a session on video advertising, because video advertising, I think, is going to be very critical. So we have Praveen Sharma from Google talking about video advertising in YouTube. I felt that that deserved a place because I think video advertising is going to be very critical in digital because it allows you to build brands using video. So that's the reason I think we've again structured this thing that video advertising is going to be important, so we've given it a session. Lastly, now digital delivers all these three things. So what do we do about it? Now that it delivers these things, but it still has the benefits that digital already had. It can measure a lot of things, it can target intent, it can target psychographics, so all the benefits remain, and now these three things of frequency, reach, and multimedia exposure is now being added to digital, right? So what is the need for the new approach? So I think the fundamental thing is that, slightly probably difficult to read, but these are the flaws which digital, let's say conventional marketing had, or conventional media had. These are the ones that digital has. How do we go about using these things to do branding on digital? So some of the pillars of the approach are, now some of them you may agree with some of these pillars. Some of the pillars may seem too far-fetched. You can ignore the ones which you don't want to use, right? Our whole purpose out here is we're going to have talk about 50 minutes on each topic, deep in detail, and present an approach to you. If you believe in even one takeaway from the entire approach, that's good enough. You get 8 different takeaways during the day, right? So one of the pillars of the approach is that I think the way we target and the brief is given to media agencies or advertising agencies, there is a flaw in it. I still have brands who call me for an RFP and say, this is the SEC I want to reach out to. Let's go a little in the background. Why was SEC invented? Because conventional media had to group people together, and then the only way they could target them, right? That's the reason SEC was invented. In digital, I don't need to group people together. A single person who's searching for paragliding and another person searching for, let's say hand gliding, and third person searching for something else which is to do with trekking, they all people who like adventure sports. So if I target the right psychography adventure sports, I'll reach out to a certain niche group of people. But they will not be grouped at one place, because the person who's interested in trekking and paragliding could be totally different places where they will be visiting. So I don't need to group people anymore. I can reach out to whichever guy I want as precisely I want it to be. So the whole model is focus on psychographics rather than focusing on SEC A and B, right? Now the thing is, let me give you an example. I had a pitch last week, so I'll just share partly the thing. So let's say you are a telecom provider only in Mumbai, right? So we generally come out with about 30, 40, 50, 100 psychographics of people that would be relevant to you. But the psychographics can be as precise as this. What we found was that, let's say Loop Mobile, very interestingly, I came to know only when I met them, that if you go to a location where there are the network of your telecom provider is low, you can just switch it on to any other provider you want, whichever has a strong network in that particular area, in Mathiran or whichever place you go to. So what happens is when you're tied to Vodafone, if Vodafone is not catching, all of us have gone and asked, Airtel hai kya? Airtel yahan pe kar raha hai. Reliance hai kya? And you would actually go and ask somebody for a phone to make a phone call. But if you're not in that area, which Loop is not in that area, you can connect to whichever provider you want. So you said, okay, they said that they have a lot of these entertainment professionals, models, actors, who go out for shoots as their clients. So I said, okay, perfect. Let's put a psychographic called Mumbai Entertainment Professionals. Now we want to do digital advertising to target only the entertainment professionals in Bombay, right? We all in this room know how to do that. But if we came up with SEC 25 to 34, male, this, that, etc., right? We are lost, right? Because, that's the way conventional media needs to target. Digital doesn't need to do that. Here I want to just target Mumbai entertainment professionals. Similarly, I want to target BlackBerry users. I want to target people who do social media on mobile. But I want to target them only in Bombay. So as soon as you get a psychographic right, everything else falls into place because, let me give you some statistics which a lot of people in India are surprised with. We believe that we are a country of 1 billion people, and that's the reason we are a big opportunity, right? But the fact of the matter is, does anybody know how many PAN cards were issued in India? The total number of PAN cards issued in India? Anybody? So there's 64 million PAN cards issued in India, which may be now 80 million or so. There are only 35, 40 million active PAN cards in India. It means a person who pays taxes, right, and almost everybody is covered who has a job, right? Only 40 million PAN cards in India, active PAN cards in India. You know how many people have more than 10 lakh rupees of income per year, which is $20,000? $20,000 and more of income per year, declared income, approximately is 1 million people. So out of a billion people, only 1 billion people have a declared income of more than 10 lakh rupees a year. So the thing is, if you don't divide them into psychographics and target them precisely, there is no benefit for a lot of brands to build a brand among a billion people. You want to build a brand with 20 million people, 50 million people, 100 million people are the tops. If you're not FMCG, that also FMCG, not in consumer goods, but let's say toothpaste and shampoo, you don't need to build a brand with more than 50, 100 million people in India. That's over the stretch top, right? So if you divide them into psychographics, then you reach out to precisely the people you want to reach out to. So for this example, you could create how to use OS. So let's say I was doing some trend analysis and I found that Pinterest is suddenly becoming very, very popular as a new social media platform. A lot of you people in the room may have heard of it, may not have heard of it, but I've got so many requests that I was curious enough to go and set up a profile and see what the platform is about. Right? I haven't had the chance to play around with it too much, but the fact of the matter is, something that is coming up, if you can take a thought leadership and teach people things about social media, then number of searches happening on Facebook for the word Facebook on Google is almost 50 million a month. So we actually created 15 videos of how do you learn Facebook. And I know a lot of friends and family who got family abroad, and they all want to learn Facebook where they can keep in touch with their family in India, right? So you can take any specific video and do things by reaching out to these psychographics once you know whom you want to reach out to, okay? Second thing about digital branding is that we are used to talking about our brand in the ad unit. The digital does not have the potential to replace a full page ad or a TV advertising kind of a medium, right? So once you've created that, okay, this is a psychographic you want to reach out to, then the ad unit can be as brief as you want it to be, where the ad unit can actually say, oh, do you want to learn this? You can learn it here. When the user arrives at their destination, that's where you can actually build your brand and you can advertise to him. So the thing is, you create content for the psychographic you want to reach out to, don't advertise in the ad unit, use the ad unit as a hook. So what are the benefits of using this, right? What happens is that ad unit becomes a hook, you get a very, very high CTR. You get a very, very high CTR, you get lower PPC cost, a lower digital media cost. If you're buying on CPM, you're paying a certain rate for CPM, you have 10% CTR, you can imagine the number of clicks you get for the same CPM, right? So cost of paid media in digital goes down if your CTR is very high. And the only way to do that is don't try to sell too much in the ad unit. There is no easy ad unit in digital other than probably homepage to take over or YouTube where you can actually use it effectively to build a brand. But most of the other platforms on digital have very limited advertising capabilities in the ad unit itself. So don't use it as much. And destination is something which then can be yours. You can have a brand channel on YouTube, you can have a Facebook page, and there you have all the advertising options available to you. You can do whatever you want out there. So once he comes there, that's where you advertise to him. So don't advertise to him in the ad unit, right? And then engagement leads to action. Because just imagine, even Facebook, right? The biggest thing about the edge rank of Facebook is, if you have 100,000 fans, when you post something on Facebook, only probably 10%, 5% of the people actually see that post because they're not engaged with your brand. If you have always been advertising on Facebook and just saying ad, 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 why will they engage with your brand? They already probably know your brand. But if you have out there some content, the chances are they'll click on it, they'll consume the content, they'll share it, they'll comment on it. So your edge rank will keep on going up. And what will happen is that even if you have 50,000 fans, you may actually see that maybe 30, 40% of your fans are seeing your post vis-a-vis 5% of your fans seeing your post. So content, and if you don't advertise per se and just advertise the content, you will have a lot more engagement with your target audiences. So that brings us to the thing, content is the spinal cord of digital advertising, whichever platform you use. So creating content is very, very essential. So the thing is, content can be anything. It can be UGC, it can be videos, it can be apps. You have to use analytics and trends. So Amit is going to cover about how do you use analytics and trends to actually create content. So next session is on that, where you can know that how do you target a person, then how do you create content for him, and then the benefits are across all the mediums that we have. right? Then you got to distribute this content across the globe, you know. So when we created content, you can give it to blogs, you can put it on Twitter. Digital is not about silo. So if you create some content, it's very, very exciting to then just let the content distribute itself. And we'll show you an example of where we create some content and automatically got distributed all over the place. We didn't have to do much because what we did was we put the branding into the content itself, and then publishers were picking it up and distributing it themselves. So you would have same content on Twitter, on Facebook, on some of the publishers, etc., and you can keep on expanding. It's always good to see chairs being added in a workshop, right? So I think the measurement is the other thing. So many times what happens is that we do all this for branding, and then it says that lead kitne mein aaya, right? So at the end of the day, all I'm saying is if you want to build a brand, there are a lot of things that one can actually measure, right? So the thing is how we measure awareness, interest, desire, action on conventional media. In digital, we can measure all these 4 things, and then we can also measure the engagement thereafter. So if you take impressions, video views, pages viewed, time spent on site, all these are relevant metrics for awareness, right? If you did a certain activity and 50,000 people saw the video, that's awareness for you. How many of them clicked on the ad or in that video and actually filled up a form? We may not know. Or we may know it may be a small number. But if 50,000 people saw that video, they will probably remember your brand thereafter, right? Then you can also measure the interest. So it could be the code generated, prices compared. A code generated for an insurance company is definitely interest in that particular category, right? Then if he filled up a lead and contacted you, you know that there is desire. If he bought the product, you know that it's bought a test drive, or signed up for a test drive, or bought a product, you know that there is action. And lastly, how much does that customer give you in terms of reference to friends? He buys himself more, does he buy more from you? Frequencies of visits to your site, all this is measurable. So all I'm saying is that when you do digital branding, if you don't measure all these things and ultimately tell the agency that, we did all this, but we got only 28 leads. That means what you're saying to the agency is you don't want to build a brand, you want to acquire customers, and then nobody can beat PPC and SEO, right? So don't say that I want to generate leads from Twitter. Dell does that. I've heard this example many times. Dell does that. You know how much Dell sold? I think like $5 or $10 million of goods in $150 billion of sales. So I said, okay, whatever percentage Dell sold on Twitter, the same percentage I'll sell for you. So if your revenues are 100 crores, you will sell exactly 22 lakhs, because that's exactly the percentage Dell sold on Twitter. I said, no, but Dell sold $3 million. I said, yeah, you go to $100 million in sales, I'll also sell $2 million for you from Twitter. So the fact of the matter is, it's important that we measure and give due credit to digital, all it achieves for us, rather than saying that, okay, it's going to only give us likes, or it's going to give us, leads, right? Lastly, I think the way conventional media is structured, there's 2% media buying cost, there's probably 1-2% for creative, and 96% of the money is spent on media. If you want to do branding on digital in the real sense, a large, significant part of your budget must go to non-paid endeavors. And let me just cover why this is needed very specifically for digital, right? Why this change in spend ratio is essential in digital. First thing is that if you really want to do it well, you need to target 10, 15, 20 different psychographics. If you target 15 different psychographics, these are disparate people at different locations, different interests. Unless you create content for all of them, you will not be able to engage with all of them, right? If I'm a paragliding pilot, you cannot create a content which says hand gliding for me, because even though both related, most people may not know the difference, but there is a fundamental difference between the two sports, right? So hand gliding content is irrelevant to me, and it's relevant to somebody else. So you have to create, if you want to target people doing adventure sports, you'll have to create adventure sports content for everybody. Somebody who's a serious mountaineer to somebody who's going for trekking to Lonavala, right? You have to create content for all those target audiences. It's going to take cost to create that content. It doesn't have to be as expensive as creating content for broadcast media, but it still has costs attached to it, right? What happens is, this is one other thing which I think a lot of times I find marketing people find very challenging to accept, that my communication messages has to be the same to everybody. I'm Volvo, I stand for safety. I'm Ferrari, I stand for speed. The fact of the matter is that because the intent of the user was not known, you would able to establish one single thing that, let's say Volvo stands for safety. So let me give you an example. We actually go and look at the search trends. I saw keywords like S60 fuel efficiency. That means this guy is looking for a Volvo S60. So he's looking for the fuel efficiency of the car. So you don't have to now keep on hampering to him that why it is the most safest car in the world. He's convinced on Volvo, he wants to buy Volvo. Now he wants to see whether it's fuel efficient, kitna deti hai, the Indian question. But the fact of the matter is, so many times we're so focused on commuting that safety message, we don't look at the intent of the user. Similarly, if somebody looking for safety features Ferrari, right? Now the thing is that, or 360 Spider Ferrari safety features. Now it could be a spouse who's against the husband buying a Ferrari, right? And just imagine she's searching for safety features of Ferrari. What messaging does she need? Tell her that it goes from 0 to 100 in 2 seconds. You think she's going to allow husband to buy the car? No. She's telling you she's looking for safety features of a Ferrari. Don't sell her speed. Tell her that it is as safe as the other car, right? So the thing is that if we ignore the intent of the user, which we do in commercial media, then we're going to pay at our own cost, right? Because the thing is we are ignoring what the user is asking us. So it's okay to give a brand message. We can say that, in spite of being the fastest car on the road, it is still the safest car, right? So, it plays, you take care of the marketing head also and his wish to be positioned as the fast car, but also take care of the spouse who's looking for the safety features of Ferrari. And give her 3 videos of what different kind of tests have been done, so the Ferrari is a very, very safe car, right? If you take cost of analytics and measurement, so Amit is going to go a little deeper into it, but the fact of the matter is that when you're measuring digital, your analytics, the tools you use, the people that you hire, you take data, mine it, business intelligence, all this is a part of your whole branding creation, right? If you don't spend money on all these things, then you're not going to get the best benefit of your branding efforts, right? Cost of optimization. So at the end of the day, each of these things are costly. So if you were to doing a print or a TV ad, media buying and, per se, let's put it this way, creative are the only 2 costs that you had, right? You could not optimize it on a daily basis. Digital campaigns can be optimized on a daily basis. So many times, we have discussions about pricing of digital also. We say, we charge so much % of digital of the spend. Actually, it's irrelevant because I can charge 10% and make lesser profit or more profit and then charge you 20% and still make lesser profit. Because, see, in conventional media, you can monitor input. If the product is not up to the mark, you can send it back and please redo it. In digital, input happens on a regular basis, right? It's like taking a compass and walking. So the input of your partners is almost impossible to evaluate. So if you squeeze them hard enough, you agree to a lower percentage, he's going to put in less time, and that's going to waste probably more media cost for you. The pricing negotiations in digital don't actually work because at the end of the day, how do you negotiate? Because you can never know how much input is going to go in because the input is on a regular basis and you can't monitor input. So it's important that you allocate a larger part of your budget for all the other activities of managing multiple partners, doing all these things, rather than saying that, okay, what, I spend 4% of my budget on conventional media, digital, I know 4% will not work, let's make it 6%. Because if you want to do all these things, and this is the right, according to me, this is the right way to approach branding on digital, you'll require a pretty adequate budget, which could be as much as 20–30% of your media spend. But the biggest benefit of this, let's say 100 rupees gives you 100 clicks, right? If you do all this, the 70 rupees will probably give you 110 clicks. So that means if the CTR goes up by 20–30% because of you did all this, you will actually get more clicks for the same cost. And that 30 rupees of content that you created will actually become your IP. So next month, for 70 rupees, you will again get 110 clicks. But you will be spending only 70 rupees. You will not be spending 100 rupees again. So not only you will end up creating some IP for yourself, and the money that you invested will actually help you double your click, or let's say, I've seen cases where we actually got 3 times more clicks for the same kind of things rather than by just doing all these things. So it pays for itself within a few months. I guarantee to you, your paid search cost and your digital marketing cost will go down if you spend in the first initial months more time and more effort on all these things that I'm asking you to do. And I think it requires education of internal stakeholders. So the last presentation I have is how do you get the digital into the DNA of the organization. So I wrote a post of how do billionaires use social media. So I'm going to cover a few of these points out here is how do you go and sell digital to the promoter in the company, the CEO in the company, the chairman of the company, Because if he gets on to digital, then everything else becomes simpler. And I've had lots of discussions in the last few months with some very, very big demigods of the world. And it's exciting. You know, earlier, if I would say 5 years back, I would meet such a demigod in some social gathering. He'll say, Vivek, you know, you must meet our CEO. He would send me to the CEO. The CEO would say, Vivek, you must meet our CMO. The CMO would send me to VP marketing. Ultimately, after 2 months, I'll be front of the management trainee in the company. That was the guy who was responsible for digital in that company, which is a 1,000 crore company. And that guy would say, Vivek, I know about you. I would love to work with you. But you know, you need to go and sell this to the CEO. I said, he only sent me to you, yaar. Right? So he would cry on my shoulders. I would cry on his shoulders. But 5 years hence, I have had now meetings with promoters who are worth a couple of $1 billion in India. And they didn't call anybody else in the room. And they had a 2-hour discussion with me after giving me a half-an-hour time slot. So they canceled the next meeting and spent 2 hours with me. After that, I was getting worried. I said, like, 2 ghante ho gaye. I've also got meetings here. But these are demigods of India and different parts of the world who are now getting excited about digital. And we as people in the organization have an opportunity to get them onto digital. And once they get on, I think our life will become much simpler. Right? So now, let's look at some of the other things. My pointer starts working again. Okay. First benefit is that it gives you an ability to reach out to niche audiences. So we have to ask a very hard question to ourselves. Who's our real target audience? So let's say we have a category of people who, you know, let's say we want to reach out to people who have more than 30 lakhs of annual salary, right? There could be psychographics, right? There'll be 10, 15, 20, 30 different psychographics of people who most likely will have a salary of more than 30 lakhs a year, right? It could be brands they use, it could be cars they buy, it could be vacations they take, it could be sports they play, right? So, you know, if you take, you know, polo or golf as a sport, most likely the guy will have a more than 30 lakh rupees a year salary, right? So, you know, I have a saying that, you know, everybody who's rich may not play golf, but whoever plays golf is surely rich, right? So, you know that these are psychographics you can reach out to very, very quickly, right? You know that, okay, most likely these guys will have more than 30 lakh rupees salaries. And they are not going to go on to Google and search for the keyword jobs, right? So the thing is that how can you actually target those things, and then how do you get impression share from those audiences? So you would target 30 psychographics or 20,000 people each. How do you make sure that those 3-4 lakh rupees people or 5 lakh people who's our core TG, who can give us business, how can we create content for them? How can we target them? How can we engage them? How do we make sure that if somebody asks them for a brand, they would remember our brand, right? Then, you know, creative can be used to reduce the media cost. You create a lot of intellectual property. So, you know, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years down the line, if you've taken one category, you may be the leader of information in that category, and that is where you will build your brand automatically, because people will relate that category to you, and you could have hundreds of different content things that you've built. Branding eventually will lead to sales, because the thing is, because you're reaching out to people who have a propensity to buy your product, at least they have the propensity to buy your product, they have a disposable income to buy your product, then they are most likely to buy your product. So building a brand among 1 billion people is an awful waste of advertising. Now let me just show you one example of a video. I'm going to start the video and then probably mute it midway through and just talk about what we try to achieve with this. The video volume.
Hi, I'm Ekta Chaudhary, Miss India Universe 2009. Join me as I prepare for long distance running with celebrity trainer Sandeep Sachdev.
Hello and welcome. Today Ekta and I are going to demonstrate a whole lot of tips, exercises and strategies helping you making running a part of your life.
So Sandeep, what is the first thing that I'm supposed to do before I start training?
The key to running a marathon is to develop a training foundation. And to develop that training foundation, you have to start with a warm-up. I'm going to demonstrate you a few exercises. Let's start.
Sure.
Okay, so the thing is, I'm going to continue talking. Probably you'll like me talking rather than, you know, Miss India talking, but whatever. So the thing is that, see, if you see this video, right, it's targeting a niche psychographic of people who like running in India. If you observe closely, poor people in India don't run. It's the affluent user running, right? You'll have the private equity guys, your audience. The video quality that we've done out here is not broadcast quality. We are aware of it. But you know, we created 25 videos for less than 5 lakh rupees paid by the client. They included the Miss India cost, included the trainer cost, included the location cost, editing, post-production, the entire montage you saw in the beginning, everything put together 5 lakh rupees. And we spent then 5 lakh rupees promoting it. We already in the first 1 month, we got more than 50,000 views across YouTube, across Yahoo videos, across a website called Mobango, etc. The fact of the matter is, there is a guy who manages almost $5 billion of fund, and some of the junior guy was mentioning to him that this is what DSP BlackRock has done, and we communicated did this work for them. See, yeah, I have seen those videos. Imagine, he manages $5 billion in funds, and he had seen the video before his junior told him about the video. So the thing is, you reached out to a very, very niche psychographic. It is 4 exercises shown very, very quickly, what are the things to do. The production quality is good enough and adequate for a person to learn how to do warm-up exercises. And there are 25 videos like this. How do you cool down? How do you warm up? How do you improve your run time? Running techniques? What do you do when you cramps while running? Everything. Right? So the content is perfect for a person who runs. And it tells you all the exercises you must do. Each video is about 2.5, 3 minutes long, and it covers all the things. So 2 days before the Mumbai Marathon, we got almost 3,500 views, which the video title was, "What do you do 2 days before the Mumbai Marathon?" We had paid search ads and promoted video ads, which said, actually, what do you do 2 days before the marathon? So if somebody was searching a marathon, the video actually said that, and there were 2 days left for Mumbai Marathon. Now there are 60 marathons in India, so we can run the same BBC ads 60 times to targeting different cities or different states, right? So automatically, if you take simply, the video has branding of DC BlackRock throughout, then it ends very simply, it gives a tip.
It's going to help you perform better throughout the day, and trust me, it's going to be one of the biggest changes of your life from now.
So it just said at the end, this tip is brought to you by your partner for the long run, right? We tried to find a connect. The logo remained on the video throughout. It's on the brand channel of DSP BlackRock. The PPC ads did not stress on, buy mutual funds. By the way, also learn about marathon. It said 2 days left for the Mumbai Marathon, what to eat 2 days before a marathon. And the 3,500 people who saw that video will have the brand imprinted in their life forever. Because every person who came to the video saw at least 3 more videos. Because what happens is, you say, okay, what do you do when you get cancer running? If you're running the first marathon, what do you take care of? It could be as simply as a tip that you must empty your bladder. But the fact of the matter is, this is important because when you're running out there, I managed to finish the half marathon 2 years back, and I just say managed to finish because I'm too embarrassed to tell you the time. But the thing is, now let's see what this achieved for them, right? First thing is, psychographic is, does everybody agree that people who run marathons in India are slightly more affluent people in India, right? Most of the people who run will be slightly affluent. They'll have more disposable income as compared to people who don't run, if you ever take 2 categories. So psychographic is right. The content was very simple, how to run, because number of people running is increasing day by day, right? If there are 50,000 runners in India 5 years back, today there are 5 lakh runners. And we know that there is a possibility that there could be 5 million runners in the next 2, 3, 5 years. But this is the most authoritative content out there on running as far as marathon running is concerned. If you go to YouTube right now, this running content is more than any other content anywhere else, right? And it's free. And then brand is integrated in the thing. Branding is integrated into the video itself. So when Yahoo picked it up, Mobango picked it up, we distributed it on blogs, Money Control put it up, these videos, because they thought they were mutual fund videos. They put it up out there. But it's still, at the end of the day, for us, is branding, right? Because anyone who sees the video, the more, the better, right? We distribute it across all the platforms. We use a lot of non-paid media. Now, whenever there is a marathon in any city, we actually tweet. By the way, if you're running the marathon, why don't you see these 25 videos? Anybody says 25 videos, how to make your running better, you have the curiosity to check it out. Automatically, you get branding. Lastly, we use promoted videos on YouTube, so you can target keywords and promoted videos. We use promoted videos and PPC. So this actually summarizes and gives you a direction of, you can build a brand for 10 lakh rupees. If that 10 lakh rupees was spent on print or a television ad, I'm not sure whether the branding would have, if you were to measure all of this together, 50,000 views, or now I think 68,000 views. These 68,000 views were received for 5 lakh rupees of paid media budget, 5 lakh rupees of production budget. And this IP is now theirs forever. Even after 5 years, 2 years, 3 years, if marathon really becomes big in India and everybody in India starts running, this would have a lot of content and a lot of ranking. So let me just take, what we hope to achieve in this whole thing was that it is a lot of pain, right? Because at the end of the day, whatever I'm elaborating out here takes a lot of logistics, a lot of coordination. But the thing is that it is worth, so if you're the ant, you do all this stuff, you know that your winter is safe, right? So this is what you're going to get for winter. So the fact of the matter is, it is a tough strategy to follow. But even if you can follow parts of it, it's better than taking a TV ad and putting it on YouTube and hoping the branding is going to happen, right? So now let me just come to the last thing. What are the things? So we're going to have the next session. Got actually 11 seconds left in my presentation. But let me just show you what it did for us in terms of benefit. So, okay, this is actually the brand channel was there of DSP BlackRock. So it looks like a website. You can actually go and purchase things from here. But now the interesting part is, if I search for the keyword mutual funds on YouTube, right? This is a promoted video ad. What is mutual fund? The rank number 2 of DSP BlackRock for a video that actually is, what is a mutual fund video, is ranked number 2. It's got 60,000 views. So if you just take this.
It's a group of people coming together, and funds means pooling of money. Therefore, the term mutual funds suggests a group of people putting their money together to buy stocks and.
So let's look at this, right? 60,000 views for a keyword called mutual funds on YouTube, which is the second largest search engine in the world. A lot of this actually has happened because of DSP BlackRock videos were all picked up from different places for marathon, and they all backlinked to this page, which talked about mutual funds. For the keyword mutual funds, we're ranking number 2 on YouTube, right? So if you have, just imagine you have disparate content, thousands of pieces of content all over the web, all linking back to whichever website you want to promote for SEO. Same content distributed on social media, same content is used for reducing your PPC cost. Imagine the benefit you can get as a brand, right? So now the next session after the break, I think is going to be Amit and Hasnain. We're going to talk about how do you go about content creation. Hope some of the ideas that we've shared out here are why you should do it, and now I think they are the masters who will tell you how to do it. Thank you.